Let us get into a conversation right now to show we are a truly national program. As you know, Man Cave is in Adelaide tonight. Of course, James Ashby, who will be running for the Queensland Parliament. We'll get into that in a couple of minutes. He's, of course, joining us in Queensland. Joining us, I think, in Sydney is none other than lovely Holly Hughes and the equally lovely Nicholas Reese joining us in Melbourne. We've got the map, the lap of the map covered here. I love it. All right. Now, we'll get into things in a second here. But, Holly, I'll start with you. Now, again, the government plays that little trick today, like they were sort of a performer saying, hey, guess the P, where's the P, where's the P? Sort of the little game happening on the side of the road today, pretending that they were doing something serious about immigration. Here's the deal. As I pointed out, their projections previously were 1.4 million. They have over-delivered on those, which means even after they've cut, we're still going to end up with 1.6 million, which is more than the city of Adelaide. Nice try, but if anyone's actually paying attention, nothing's changing.
No, and we've been talking about in Parliament for quite a period of time the fact that inflation, which is what this immigration is fueling, that the inflation is now so heavily homegrown. It is now demand side driven inflation because of this influx of new migrants. This has been conversations that we have been wanting to have, that have been shut down and shut down and shut down by this completely arrogant government, but yet we leave Parliament on Thursday and by Saturday, Albanese has some epiphany and starts to make policy announcement. I mean, you know, maybe congrats to Albo. I think it's the first policy he's actually discussed on Australian soil since before the referendum. So, you know, perhaps we could give him some chutzpah for that. But, I mean, it's an absolute joke. They refuse to accept it's demand side inflation that is driving all of these cost of living pressures at the moment, which are being absolutely put forward by this immigration. And as we know with Labor, they have a very poor record when it comes to targeted immigration. We know that we need doctors in the bush. We need a lot of skilled workers in rural and regional Australia, yet they do not have targeted immigration policies. They open the floodgate. Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane became the hotspots for everyone that turns up in the country and create more and more of a housing issue, more and more inflation, and do not solve any of the skills gaps we have in rural and regional Australia.
Completely. Now, Nicholas, I'll get to you in a second about students, because that's sort of this big part of it, and I understand what the university sector is as an industry, but when it comes to human beings needing places to live, although that's part of the issue we've talked about before when it comes to housing. But James, again, look, maybe I'm the fellow who can't add up, but seriously, I mean, what a perfect example about a bunch of people sitting around looking at a whiteboard going, geez, we've had a bad couple of weeks. How do we make it look like we're doing something? Well, let's turn around and pretend that we're going to cut into the future when we have already over-delivered in the past. And you know what? Everyone in the media fell for it today.
Well, in Queensland here, the state government are running ads saying we're increasing our population here in Queensland by 1 million people over the next 10 years. The problem is we're going to build more houses, and roughly about 40,000 per year to try and keep up with that increase. Now, we're already short, all right, on houses in this state. So 40,000 is the bare minimum. Last year, we had 38,000 housing approvals. So we're already falling short. We don't have enough builders. We don't have enough tradesmen in general right across the country, let alone here in Queensland. So I don't know how they're going to keep up with that. Now, this false promise they're going to reduce the numbers, they may have reduced, or they're going to claim they're going to reduce on one hand, but Paul, there have been in the last few months, 4 months, more than 200,000 applications from Afghans who have fled Afghanistan after Taliban took back over. They've made an application to come to Australia. Now, the Australian authorities are slowly working through those. Does that mean Albanese's going to tear up every one of those 200,000? I hope so, but I bet he doesn't. He will continue to bring in on different streams. So when I say different streams, it'll be migration through humanitarian entry levels. So this is all just puff and win from a Prime Minister who's desperate to try and get the Australian public back on his side.